Good evening. My name is Jojo Wolf, and I'd like to welcome you to the 35th Annual Science Research Symposium. Good evening, Superintendent Lamia, Deputy Superintendent Kaltenecker, Assistant Superintendent Cunningham, members of the Board of Education, Principal Walsh, parents, students, faculty, community members, and most importantly, the graduating science research class of 2024. Tonight, each of our 27 seniors will be presenting a completed individual research project, each the product of hundreds of hours of determination, perseverance, and outstanding scientific inquiry. Additionally, our sophomores and juniors will share their explorations within their fields of interest. We welcome you to this incredible evening.
Hello, I am Adriana Zawajek, and I am part of the group of 5 students who supervise the organization of our wonderful evening. We are thrilled to be here, honoring our seniors and recognizing the program as a whole. The 5 of us, called the Fab Five, each assumed a different role in the preparation for tonight, supervising the entire sophomore and junior class who worked collaboratively to create this evening's festivities. Chloe Cole served as editor-in-chief of the program book that you received tonight, which will be your guide for the rest of the evening. There, you will see a brief summary of each student's research. Next, Aaron Stein developed our Symposium virtual presentation hall. Using your personal devices, you can scan the QR code listed in the program to get the link to this very impressive website and view presentations from all of our students, even after this evening concludes. In addition, Aaron took on the role of press and publicity to spread the word about our symposium throughout our community. Jojo Wolf is the head of our tech committee. With her team, she worked to ensure that all seniors would effectively present their work tonight. Our 4th member, Andrew Levy, coordinated invitations for this event and aided in preserving the history of our program by reaching out to former ASR students about the event. Finally, I supervise the group in charge of food, decorations, and setup for this evening, setting the tone for our evening tonight. We invite you to take time after senior presentations conclude to once again enjoy another set of refreshments in the cafeteria. Together, all 5 of us, along with the entire sophomore and junior classes, played an essential role in executing this event, and we hope you enjoy yourselves this evening. Please feel free to see any one of us if you have any questions or need any guidance at any point during this evening.
Good evening. My name is Chloe Cole, and I thank you for being here tonight. Each student has worked their hardest in preparation for this symposium, designing posters, writing abstracts, and helping in their various symposium committees. While these things were crucial to making tonight happen, one of the biggest decisions that had to be made was in regard to our theme for tonight. For the 2024 symposium, we have selected the theme of Illuminam Scientiam, or illuminating knowledge, an idea that perfectly encapsulates each student's journey in the Byram Hills Science Research Program. As sophomores, students begin their ASR journey by reading articles and learning the ins and outs of their chosen topics. Later in the year, sophomores complete the dreaded review guide and navigate the challenges of presenting their first PowerPoint. Not only do these valuable skills carry over into the next 2 years of science research, but they also teach the importance of communicating science. Being able to share science allows a researcher to explain their amazing discoveries, opening the doors for new findings and applications. Seniors now have conducted their own research and established conclusions, filling gaps in the literature. All the successes, limitations, and failures allow seniors to illuminate knowledge throughout the community. In accordance with our theme, the Fab Five, with help from artist Savannah Mathis, a junior, have selected a fiery flask as the perfect analogy for the Byram Hills Authentic Science Research Program. The fire represents the start of the journey, all of the difficult reading, writing, presenting, editing, and troubleshooting that lays the foundation and activates our community as scientists. The blue smoke represents the product of this hard work, the research, the results, and the conclusions, both successful and unsuccessful. As a group, the ASR community makes unique findings, causing the expansion of all fields of science. Lastly, the hands represent our community, illuminating our knowledge. The Byram Hills Authentic Science Research Program is a family of fresh and fiery minds with unique views and solutions to elucidate the scientific problems seen in society. As the leaders of the future, we strive for a way to transcend the current boundaries of both our scientific world and society as a whole, illuminating new knowledge and bringing brilliance to the world. This illumination begins tonight as we honor our inspiring senior class. At this point, I would like to invite our senior class to take their seats in the audience. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Levy, and I am proud to have been given the honor to recognize a fellow researcher who has done illuminating work before us. By taking risks, challenging herself, and achieving new levels of greatness, she has set precedents and inspired us to be better. She beautifully represents the illustrious alumni who have influenced our community of growing scientists, and I am pleased to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, Dr. Rachel Okiogoso-Abelman, a member of the graduating class of 2010. Rachel was a part of our very own science research program, where she discovered her passion for science through her unique study using donor oocytes as a means of stratification to determine the etiology of adverse outcomes associated with in vitro fertilization. Rachel was an excellent student and an amazing member of the science research community. As well as illuminating knowledge in her study, she made a lasting impact in Byram Hills by becoming the first ever Byram Hills chemistry TA alongside Mr. Borneman. She was crucial in establishing this esteemed program. Rachel graduated from the program in liberal arts medical education at Brown University and completed her internal medicine residency at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. Currently, Rachel is a senior medical oncology fellow in the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Massachusetts General Brigham program. She will be joining the faculty of Massachusetts General Hospital this summer in the breast oncology group. Rachel is a clinical and translational researcher interested in the use of antibody-drug conjugates in breast cancer. She aims to be a clinical researcher focused on the development of novel therapeutics in breast cancer. As Rachel continues to make an impact in breast cancer research, she will always be fondly remembered for being an influential member of our science research community. Unfortunately, Rachel is unexpectedly ill and cannot be here with us in person. However, this would not stop her from fulfilling her commitment to us. Therefore, via Zoom, we ask you to please welcome Dr. Rachel Okiogoso-Abelman.
Well, Andrew, thank you for introducing me. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm excited to speak a little bit about all that I've learned, all that I've gained from science research and kind of what I've learned from the experience. So I titled my talk, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Science Research. And I really do believe that. And I'm Rachel Okiogoso-Abelman. So I graduated from Byram Hills 14 years ago, which is kind of hard to believe. I then completed my undergraduate and medical degrees at Brown University. I subsequently did an internal medicine residency at Brigham and Women's Hospital. And then I did my fellowship in medical oncology at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Mass General Hospital, which I'm just completing now. And I'm joining the faculty of Mass General in the breast oncology division next month, actually. My research these days primarily focuses on antibody-drug conjugates, which I've outlined in the image on the left. So the green essentially is an antibody, and this is essentially a novel way of delivering chemotherapy in a way that's hopefully more effective and less toxic. So the antibody, the green part, is targeted against a cell marker, an antigen that's typical of cancer cells, but not normal cells. The red, or the payload, is usually a type of chemotherapy, often more potent than can be delivered normally. And they're combined with a biochemical linker with various properties depending on the agent. The goal of these agents essentially is that they're able to be more effective than standard chemotherapy and hopefully spare our patients many of the toxicities of regular chemotherapy. I work primarily in breast oncology, so these agents have been approved. 3 of them have been approved for breast oncology in metastatic breast cancer and some other settings as well. On the right, I kind of have a very basic schema showing how the agents essentially work. So they're looking for a target cell, they go in, and they then cause cell death. And the important thing here is that they're targeting specifically cancer cells. So, which is different than regular chemotherapy, which just targets all rapidly dividing cells. What I do is I do a mixture of clinical and translational work. So I'm involved in clinical trials, hoping to expand these antibody drug conjugates for novel uses, in new combinations and in new settings, like in earlier stage settings where they haven't been used before. And that's how I spend much of my time. And then I also do some what we call translational work, which is kind of integrating the lab science and the clinical work. So what I do for that is looking for ways to understand how patients develop resistance to these current agents, so we can design new and better agents to treat their cancer. And I also see patients who have breast cancer in the clinic as well. So looking back to kind of think about how what's kind of guided me in the last 14 plus years, I think that a few key concepts that I think the science research program really outlined well have kind of helped me figure out where I'm going and figure out how to take care of patients and do research as best as I can. So the first lesson that I'll start with is mentorship. And I think what the science research program does that's fantastic is they introduce you to a longitudinal mentor that you can have over your 3 years in the program, which I think is a really novel thing in this context of a high school career. And certainly that's helped me throughout my scientific training as well. So any mentor that can really invest in you, I would say, is invaluable to your career. And it's important to kind of seek out mentorship if you are in a class with a professor and you find their work interesting, or if you come across a club and you find the advisor is something that you connect with. I think that what I think I learned from science research was that you can just reach out and ask them. So I think that the way they have high school students just email professors was something that I took with me in my career, because it taught me that oftentimes you just have to make the opening connection, and that people are willing and eager to mentor young minds, and sometimes just taking the first step can make a huge impact. So that's something that I think I would definitely bring with you as you move on from science research. And then the next point on this topic, I would say, is that it's when you're going through all phases of your training or your career, it can be really helpful to stay connected to mentors. Often they want to know how you're doing, and they can provide guidance at different stages of your career. And I'm fortunate to have learned so much from my science research teachers as well, that I'm really grateful that I've stayed in touch with them and kind of had those connections over the years as well. And then the last point I would say is that sponsors are some people who are not necessarily in your direct area, but kind of work in your overall setting, and they can kind of help promote you and help give you overall guidance, and that can be really, really impactful as well. The next point I would say is to really explore broadly, and I think what science research does that I really learned from as a high school student was that we read broadly in our first year of the program. I remember reading so many articles trying to figure out what I was going to be interested in, whether it was psychology or biochemistry or medicine. You really get a sense that the world is so broad and there's so much that you can do. That I think I would encourage you, and especially if you're starting college or a new field, to really just sign up for things that you wouldn't necessarily think that you're interested in. Trying a new activity, if it seems like it's something that could appeal to you, can introduce you to a field that is not even on your radar right now. For me, when I started my research, I think I was initially interested in like other medical concepts, and then I ultimately evolved to women's health while I was starting in science research. And I remember the kind of the process of reading some articles and deciding that wasn't for me, and then finding the paper and finding the kind of concept that I most identified with when I ultimately worked in fertility research in high school. And I think that similarly, when I was going into like my next phases of my career, whether it was college and then medical school, I thought I wanted to do OBGYN, which was kind of linked to my research in high school. But then when I actually got into the field of medical school, I ended up going in a different direction. And I think I benefited from the advice I had from Miss Greenwald and everyone else in science research, that you can always that you're still very early on, and it's important to kind of see what speaks to you. Which goes to my next point, which is that it's important to find what engages you, because that's what's ultimately going to drive you forward. So I think there are many of my peers in science research who ultimately kind of changed topics midway through or partially through. I think the lesson that I learned from that is that it's important. It takes a lot of insight to recognize that the topic that you had initially picked or what you initially thought you wanted to do may not be the right fit, and it's totally normal and appropriate to change direction over time. So in fact, more people do than don't in my experience, in terms of what I wanted to do over the course of my medical career. Almost everyone I went to medical school with ended up going into a different field than they initially thought, even if it was a different subfield. And then I think there's so much to be gained from just experiencing different areas, and then once you find an area, kind of going with that if you find that it really gets you up in the morning. And then the next lesson that I learned from science research was to trust your intuition and your judgment. So oftentimes, like you can have a real sense of whether you've made the right choice, and figuring out that if you're drawn to something, that it's the right thing to do. Something that I was a big career shift for me was when I was in medical school. As I said, I was going to do OBGYN, and when I really walked into the OR, I kind of knew right away that this really wasn't the right fit for me, even though I had thought I would do it for a decade plus, I think. I had like written my college essay about doing OBGYN. I had done research in college in OBGYN, and I had everything set up for OBGYN. I knew the department. I was all ready to go, except the actual critical moment in medical school of actually doing the field, which I realized that that was just not the right fit for me. Um, and that I kind of built upon the kind of background I had gained in science research and other areas, where I took a step back and I said, like, what areas of OBGYN did I appeal to me? And I really knew I liked taking care of female patients. I knew I liked taking care of people in highly impactful, important, in highly emotional times in their lives. And I liked also engaging with the science. And for me, this led me to kind of think about all the rotations that I had done in medical school. And that's when I ultimately changed direction to do internal medicine, which is not as surgical, so not so a better fit for me. And then, but I still work with female patients because I take care of essentially exclusively breast cancer patients. So I think I kind of gained a lot of the lessons that I had taken from my years working in women's health and just kind of shifted directions slightly. Um, but I have worked with many people over the years as well who have made similar changes or even much broader changes. And I think that ultimately, if you have an inkling that one field is the right way or one field is not the right fit for you, then I think that listening to that will give you great benefit over time. And then I think something that I also loved about science research was the ability to really engage with role models. So I think when I was earlier in school, I found it hard to imagine myself as these different roles that I was potentially going to be in the future. So whether it was a physician or in a different career, I think it's hard in the classroom setting to really know what it's like. And what's so wonderful about science research is you're really right there in it. So I worked in a lab in Iowa, actually, between my junior and senior year of high school, as I know many of you do when you're preparing your project. And I really got to interact with people from the lab, and whether it was graduate students and my mentor, you can really see what their life is like. And I think that I mean, it's like they're obviously many years ahead of where I was at the time, but seeing where that was instrumental in kind of picturing myself in various roles as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and something that I'm honestly still doing as my career is evolving. In college, I tried to take advantage of the same approach that science research recommended that we did, and I shadowed many different doctors in college and medical school, and that was similarly helpful because I was able to really see different areas and see if I could kind of see myself doing that. And similarly, I think what I also loved about science research is that we were encouraged to ask mentors directly, why did they like what they were doing? Why did they choose their field? What lessons would they share with students? And I think that many people you'll encounter in your educational career want to help you and want to guide you, and asking them questions like that can really open your eyes to what parts of their job they like, what parts that you wouldn't have even thought of, and what parts are most impactful. So I think that's one other lesson that I would say. So in college, especially if you're depending on what setting you're in, I would encourage you to approach graduate students, professors, et cetera, and really ask them these questions that kind of are things that you're wondering about, especially if you are kind of trying to figure out what you want to do. And then, like the last thing I would say along with from the science research component is that I had role models who were within the program, and of course my science research teachers. So even as a sophomore, I remember learning from my junior and senior classmates. I actually ended up going to college with some of them and had kind of ongoing interactions with them over the years and friendships, which was fantastic. I actually interviewed for fellowship with one of my science research alumni, which was very alums, which was a very fun experience. And this is all to say that I think that there's so much to be learned from people who are in all levels of the educational process. And I think I would encourage you to take advantage of that because often people are very eager to open up once you ask them questions like that. And then finally, I think most importantly is to kind of touching on a lot of the advice is to find your why. And for me, helping female patients, helping women in every phase of their life is what gets me out of bed in the morning. It has in science research where it helped me. I was thinking about different fertility options, which is highly impactful to our patients. And these days, when I think about my breast cancer patients, I think it's helping them live longer and better lives for their families. And having that kind of motivation can make things, even when things are challenging at work or can be stressful, or when research questions are hard to be answered, I think figuring out what that ultimate motivation for you is, and if you have that, can help you overcome any stressful situation. So for me, I think my overall conclusion summary is that the overall lessons from science research have kind of provided me with so much incredible guidance over the last 14 years. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm really excited to celebrate you all. So congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Ogiagroso-Abelman. At this time, before we award our seniors their science research diplomas, let us relive one of the great triumphs of the class of 2024. It has become a tradition for our seniors to film themselves when they submit their Regeneron STS paper after their long, hard journey. Let's see what that looked like for some of our students.
Finally, we get to submit Regeneron. It's been so long. Yeah. Oh wait, do you have 1-inch margins? You're joking, right? You didn't look at the last minute checklist? Oh no. Hey! Get up! Okay guys, let's submit. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let's go!
What's going on out here? Let me see.
Hey, Daddy. We're just submitting our demo. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, we gotta submit to Regeneron.
Oh my god, you're right. We forgot to submit.
Oh my god, we gotta submit. 3, 2, 1.
Let's go! Let's go!
Did you film your Regeneron video?
I did not.
Did you film your Regeneron video?
No.
Video?
No.
My name is Aaron Stein, and at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce one senior who will share his thoughts with you this evening. People often talk about how special the science research program is in terms of helping each student improve their communication skills and become independent. So much so that the strong science research community that is built among students may often be less recognized. However, the program itself is so extraordinary because of the people in it. One student in the program has played a critical role in emphasizing the importance of our ASR community, which has allowed him to help shape the program into what it is today. Joseph Palackl is the quintessential blueprint of an authentic science research student, as exhibited by his resiliency, passion, and attitude. Joe's involvement in the program began with his persistence to study basketball, despite the challenges he faced. Joe completed a difficult study, taking the role of principal investigator with limited mentor support. Joe is a silent leader. He leads by example and is respected by all of his peers for his hard work, resilience, and wisdom. Upon announcing to our students that Joe was chosen as the senior speaker for tonight, Mrs. Greenwald said that there was an overwhelming feeling of awe and agreement from our senior class that Joe was the perfect person to represent the graduating class of 2024. Given his persistence and passion for basketball research, it is no surprise that Joe earned both a 4th place award in WESF and a 3rd place award in the Tri-County Science Fair. No matter the challenges Joe faced throughout his research journey, he was always able to adapt and succeed. As such, Joe embodies all of the qualities that clearly represent our science research community. Without further ado, here is our senior speaker, Joseph Palackl.
Good evening. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight to celebrate our hardworking science research students. It is an honor to speak at this year's symposium. You may be wondering why I was chosen to give this speech, and to be honest, I'm wondering the same thing. I haven't searched for water on Mars using a complex software. I haven't optimized a microscope through the biomimicry of butterflies. I haven't analyzed various aspects of a species to discover how they regenerate limbs. I'm just a kid studying basketball. Back in September of 2021, when we were still navigating life with masks, I stepped into the science research room for the first time as an ASR student. Like most sophomores on their first day, I was incredibly nervous, intimidated by the confident juniors and seniors around me. Mrs. Greenwald's advice to us was clear. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. As a shy, anxious sophomore, that didn't ease my nerves. Unlike many of my peers, I had no idea what I wanted to study. Sustainable energy seemed like a relevant topic, but I wasn't thrilled with the idea of studying it for 3 whole years. I will always remember my very first meeting with Mrs. Greenwald my sophomore year, where she gave me 4 words of advice that would change the trajectory of my ASR career. Study something you love. It sounds simple, but those 4 words opened up a world of possibilities for me. I couldn't help but immediately think of basketball, a sport I've loved and played for as long as I can remember. While I never imagined that it could be something that I studied in school, Mrs. Greenwald assured me that I could truly study anything I wanted. I decided to focus my research on high-pressure basketball performance, specifically the difference between clutch players and those who choke under pressure. At this point, I had a topic, but I needed to find a mentor. I was fortunate to find an extremely qualified professional in my field, but the only catch was that he lived across the world in Australia. This meant that I conducted my research independently at the high school, using high school participants, while my mentor would serve to guide me through the process. My study involved a video intervention where Byram Hills participants watched clips of clutch performances in NBA history to see if it reduced their likelihood of choking under pressure. And this all took place in our very own Byram Hills PE classes. It was a grueling process, but I won't bore you with the details. I would instead like to draw your attention to a different intervention. While it may not seem like it, my research journey mirrors the science research program itself. My study implemented an intervention that hoped to better prepare athletes for pivotal moments in their sports careers. Likewise, science research is a 3-year intervention designed to prepare students for the big game, the real world, life after high school. While some will be clutch from the beginning, most will choke under pressure at first. However, we have had one of the best interventions, ASR. Young, curious, nervous sophomores enter the program unprepared for the real world, and they leave as hopeful, determined, confident seniors ready to explore their interests beyond high school. Along the way, we faced tasks we didn't want to do, assignments we saved till the night before, presentations we dreaded, and maybe even moments when we thought about quitting. But each challenge had a purpose. In sophomore year, we tackled the daunting review guide and found professional mentors from around the world willing to guide us for 3 years. In junior year, we designed our studies, meticulously planning every detail. And the summer before senior year was a whirlwind, conducting our studies, writing final papers, applying for college, and still finding time to enjoy our summer. But ultimately, we pushed through it all. And in the end, it's these moments of struggle that prepared us for the future and the many different situations that will come before us. So when some of us are CEOs presenting a proposal for a merger, remember that first elevator pitch when we were scared to put ourselves out there? When we finally become world-renowned neurosurgeons and the operating room staff isn't working cohesively, remember how we helped each other with our final papers during lock-in, or how we collaboratively solved the New York Times mini crossword puzzle together in under 28 seconds, something we did every day in period 8 this past year. When we graduate from college and there is a job opening we want, but we think we might not be qualified, remember when we had to ask our mentors for what we wanted, even when we may have thought that we were being annoying. And most importantly, whenever an opportunity arises, take it. Take risks. Remember back to freshman year when we all took a huge risk by signing up to take science research. This unforgettable, transformative science research experience that I am forever grateful for would not have been possible without a tremendous amount of help. I would first like to thank my parents and all the science research parents for their constant support and guidance. I'm sure there were many of you, like my mom, who witnessed several very late nights finishing up work, which was probably just as stressful for you parents as it was for us. Thank you for putting up with our antics and being there for us as we stressed over our work. I would also like to thank my classmates, the science research class of 2024. It really has been an adventure, and I am so grateful for all the friendships I made and the memorable science research classes over the years. I will never forget all the assignments we procrastinated together, all the work we complained about to each other, and all the presentations we communally dreaded. But most importantly, I will remember the joyous accomplishments we shared. Singing the Circle of Life upon completion of our review guides, cheering as we found our mentors, and congratulating each other for our awards and accolades. Finally, I would like to thank Mrs. Greenwald, Dr. Matthew, Mrs. Salamone, Mrs. Santini, and the science research family for all that they have done. From the numerous drafts covered in red pen to the hours poured into constructive PowerPoint and poster feedback, thank you for helping us become better students, better researchers, and most importantly, better people. In my junior year, after my mentor needed to take extended personal time off, Mrs. Salamone and Mrs. Greenwald worked with me for several hours to ensure that I was still able to develop a well-thought-out protocol. Without them, I wouldn't have had to study. There were also several times over my 3-year journey when Mrs. Greenwald would explain to me that the research that I was doing was important and that I should feel like I should be proud of everything that I had done. She always made me feel like I belonged in the program, even when I doubted both myself and the relevance of my work. As I stand here at the end of this unpredictable roller coaster journey, I can confidently and proudly say that I am not the same person I was back in September of 2021. I am no longer unprepared, no longer as shy, and no longer nervous, because I got through science research. Because I got through science research, the great intervention I've had in high school, I know that the science research class of 2024 will not choke under the pressure of the big game, the game of life. Thank you, and congratulations to the science research class of 2024.
Thank you, Joe, for your inspiring words. I would now like to introduce Mrs. Greenwald, Mrs. Salamone, and Dr. Matthew to present special awards.
Hello, everyone, and welcome tonight. Joe, you got to give me a chance to pull it together before I kick up here again. That was really, really beautiful, and obviously a great choice to speak on behalf of the senior class. So welcome everyone here tonight. It's one of my most favorite nights of the year to see all of our students together and to welcome the freshmen that are here and welcome you into our family. Tonight we're going to take a moment to honor a few students, but before I do that, I really want to thank my team that is here tonight, Dr. Matthew, Mrs. Salamone, Mrs. Santini, Jim Gulick back up there, who's going to be joining us next year. We really are a family, and we work together to make all of you the wonderful students that you are today. I want to, for a moment, just now honor an outstanding junior. And it's hard to choose an outstanding junior of an incredible class. So I thought to myself, how do scientists look for data to draw valid conclusions? How do they know that their conclusions are correct? So in science, we talk about two things. Data must be valid and it must be reliable. I can think of one person who embodies both validity and reliability. This student is outstanding and I have valid data to demonstrate it. She is intelligent, she is well-read, she loves to problem solve. No matter what question I throw at her, she'll come up with an answer. She loves being out of her comfort zone, even though I see her squirming her face when I ask her those tough questions, but she'll come back and she'll find the answer. And she loves to help each other. But a lot of juniors are like that. What makes this student distinct is that she's reliable. I can always count on her. I can count on her to come to meetings prepared. I can count on her to help other students without being asked. She never says no to anyone. She is always consistently optimistic. She is valid and reliable and is clearly the outstanding junior of 2024. I wish her the best on her research this summer when she starts to work on bioprinting vasculature tissue this summer at Harvard Medical School. Congratulations, Chloe Cole.
Thank you, Mrs. Greenwald. So, in my opinion, sorry, freshmen, sophomore year is the hardest in the program. From the anxiety of their first foray into elevator pitches, long nights poring over the literature in their chosen field, the necessity of independently figuring out what work needs to get done to deepen that foundational knowledge and then doing it, and the terrifying leap of faith hitting send on that first mentor request email, the vulnerability of admitting all the things still unknown and yet to learn. It's a lot. And that's before the work of planning a study and carrying it out even comes into view. We often reflect that one of the joys of this program lies in watching our little sophomores transform into emerging adults as they take on the challenges that confront them and push themselves outside of their comfort zone. Tonight, unusually, I will be presenting this award to not one, but two sophomores. These students have shown themselves to be emerging adults already, both taking on leadership roles, helping organize our senior showcase in March, each meticulous in their work and seeking out more opportunities to explore in their field, more ways to help those around them. As I look out into these crowd of all our students, those on their way in and those on their way out, I don't know that these two will be thinking that I'm speaking about them. Self-effacing, kind, and quite brilliant. It is my pleasure to present both Max Charney and Angelina Nee with the Outstanding Sophomore Award.
The recipient of this year's Excellence in Science Research Award is a student who has been a standout from his earliest days in the program. He is driven by intellectual curiosity, conducts himself with the utmost professionalism, and is an exceptional communicator. In the classroom, he's a steady and supportive presence for his peers. He provides excellent feedback, helping others to achieve their best work. I still remember the foundation of this student's current work when he began the program as a sophomore. He had seen videos of mice who, infected by a parasite, had lost their fear of cats. The parasite that caused this dangerously fearless behavior was Toxoplasma gondii, and it sent this student on a global health journey, learning about infection rates in both animals and humans. It led him to fascinating research about the possible correlation between toxoplasmosis and behavioral changes in humans. Watching this student move from one discovery to the next, one journal article to the next, gave me the sense of one door opening, then another, the most significant of which led him to securing a mentor in the field. I remember telling his mentor, "This kid is the real deal," something she would soon discover, as would his other science research teachers during his junior and senior years. But we all know that in science research, things are not always easy. We tell this to the parents during parent-teacher night. We tell it to our students on an ongoing basis. The struggle is part of the journey. But no one wants to face a giant hurdle during September of their senior year when they're facing a rigorous course load and navigating the demands of college applications. For this student, the hurdle was substantial. His data was still being processed at the lab, and he had to wait for it. Facing this obstacle with grit and composure, he continued to refine his paper again and again until the data were complete. He was faced with one of life's great lessons at an inconvenient time. Sometimes we don't have control over our circumstances, but we have control over how we handle the challenge. This is a student who routinely faced challenges, expected and unexpected, with intellectual fortitude and equanimity. He is an excellent student scientist and an all-around class act. I am so pleased to present the Excellence in Science Award to Jake Fenster.
It seems that it has often fallen to me to present the Abe Shaheen Science Research Award at our symposium. This award recognizes the creativity, resourcefulness, and persistence that has propelled a certain senior's scientific research beyond the ordinary, if we can call the achievements of any of our senior class ordinary. Once, back in the 1980s, Abe Shaheen came to Dr. Pavlika seeking out more to learn, more to do, more opportunity. His passion for science and determination to seek what might be possible were unbridled. The student who receives this award tonight embodies that same sense of passion and determination. She entered the program with an interest in the environment and a deep and abiding love of maths. We always tell our students, study what you love, and she did. Even though her interests took her down a path less traveled in our program, into topics that didn't even have a category to fit her into, in the JSHS and WESF competitions she competed in, she persisted and she shone. She presented her work at the MIT Joint Program Lunch, went through the grueling process of peer review and finally publication, baffled her classmates each morning with math puzzles far beyond my level of caffeination at that time of day, and did it all with brilliance, humility, and most appropriately, grace. Fittingly, I will end with a quote from Thoreau, if I can hold myself together. I learned this, at least, by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of her dreams and endeavors to live the life which she has imagined, she will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. It is my distinct pleasure to present the Abe Shaheen Science Research Award to Grace Lynn.
So I am here to present the Dr. Robert Pavlica Award to an outstanding senior. Dr. Pavlica founded this program 35 years ago, and one of the tenets of the program was the door is open to anyone. Anyone who has a love for science can come. They may struggle, they may have a difficult time, but if they have persistence, they may come to the program. So now we're the teachers that have to watch this happen. A student coming into a program, hesitant, nervous, worried, and watch them grow. For all the parents out there of seniors or alumni, you know what I'm talking about. Several years ago, when your students decided to come into science research, I'm sure you sat there and said, really? They're going to talk to mentors? They're going to present their work in front of all of these people? Okay, here we go. And now you look at them, and they did it. So I want to talk to you about one girl who I met several years ago, a shy and quiet girl who sat in front of me to talk about her work, barely a voice above a whisper, her hair drawn in front of her face as if she could just close a curtain and hide. She talked, I listened, and she started to tell me about a childhood friend who had died of cancer and how that inspired her, and that's what she wanted to study. We took a look at the first journal article together, and we struggled through the first paragraph for over an hour, over and over again, trying to figure out what all these words meant. And slowly, a moment at a time, the light bulb would go off. The one thing I noticed in her, she was stubborn. She was really stubborn. She was not going to give up. And so she kept reading and reading and reading. And every time I said, "You sure?" she said, "Yes, I'm going to do this." She spent the summer at Johns Hopkins University, starting to learn the procedures that she would use the next summer when she would carry out her research. She spent the second summer junior year at Johns Hopkins University doing her research after a lot of struggle, finding out literally a month before she was about to show up that the idea she had wasn't going to work. She quickly changed gears and got her study in gear and produced an amazing piece of research. In fact, I remember she told me that she got to present her work in front of all of the people that she was working with, a feat that I never thought she'd be able to do when I met her sophomore year. So the Dr. Robert Pavlica Award often comes with a quote, because Dr. Pavlica used to have these quotes posted all around the classroom. And I found one quote that really personifies this young lady by Barack Obama. He says, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek." Congratulations for this year's Dr. Robert Pavlica Award to Abigail Cushman.
Good evening once again, everyone. Before I begin my spiel now, can we please give a final warm round of applause for all those who have just been awarded tonight? It is now time for us science research students to give a little award of our own, turning the tables for once, I know, to the most important members of the ASR program and community. And those would be our truly incredible teachers. Dr. Matthew, Ms. Greenwald, Ms. Santini, and Ms. Salomon, you are the backbone of this entire program, and we are immensely grateful for you. While it's true that science research students work hard, the fact is that science research teachers simply work even harder. You do far more than just teach us material to regurgitate on a test. You teach us ways of life. You teach us how to be responsible, how to take accountability, how to step up and take initiative. You teach us how to wonder and explore beyond the confines of what we are told is possible, and to instead seek out and work towards the impossible. You teach us how to not only live up to our potential as scientists, but also as people. The lessons that you constantly bestow upon us are infinitely more valuable than ones that can be taken from any quiz or test, and are lessons that cannot be taught in a classroom unless you all are in it. You have all left such a mark on the students whose lives you have touched, and I ask that we take a moment to remember evidence of that. The countless emails from current college students to post-grads that you receive on the daily, citing proof of the long-lasting impact that your teachings have had on your students. The numerous alumni who are here today to reunite with you and this program, who simply couldn't write enough kind things about you in their RSVPs tonight. And us, the Fab Five, with our annual gift for you. While we couldn't find a gift that would match the value of all that you have gifted to us, we hoped to encapsulate our immense gratitude in a way that could be as useful and as long-term as the impact that you have had on each and every one of your students. Referencing back to what I said about the science research teachers outworking any of us, it's very true. We're not the only ones who stay up until ungodly hours writing our papers. They're the ones who stay up until those same hours, if not later, extensively grading and editing each detail to ensure our success. They stress over every competition and application submission even more than we do, and rejoice over every award and presentation, the epitome of one of Dr. Matthews' favorite words, Freudenfreude, which means to take joy in other people's successes. They are the captains of our ASR ship, dealing with all of our messes and stormy waters at all times. And we know that that takes a lot of energy. So we wanted to provide a way to gift you all some of that energy back in whatever way we can. We greatly hope that you enjoy this absolutely nerdy and incredibly scientific kettle and mug set for the enormous amounts of tea and coffee, respectively, that we know you all consume in our names. Thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you, Dr. Matthew. Thank you, Ms. Greenwald. Thank you, Ms. Salamone. And a thank you to Ms. Santini, who not only... Sincerely, the Fab Five.
Now, the moment we have been waiting for. We will introduce each of our seniors so they may receive their science research diplomas. As has become a tradition during this ceremony, it is time to look back on where this all began.
As a freshman, each senior submitted an application to our program. We've revisited their applications and selected a quote that we think might perhaps represent who they are. In addition, we would like to remind you what our group of 27 looked like when they were young, budding scientists. Let's take a look as we honor the class of 2024.
I'm waiting. Yiching Yang, examining the benefits of using a swan neck for rear wing to increase stability and fuel efficiency in an automotive vehicle.
Connor Bokel, identifying the synergistic effect of vaccinia virus and PMEL T-cell treatment for melanoma tumors, a novel utilization of Excelligence impedance assays as a real-time imaging device.
Joseph Palacal, choking under pressure, analyzing the impact of video intervention on high school amateur athletes' basketball performance in a free throw task.
Zachary Perro, elucidating a novel pathway underlying yeast prion replication, ATG17, and the essentiality of specific genes in yeast prion propagation.
Jack Tanner, Do Bells and Whistles Matter? Exploring how confirmation bias impacts functional outcomes and perceptions of advanced orthotic devices, a pilot study.
Calvin Kai, Innovations in Anti-Doping Among Athletes, validating the Tasso Plus microvolumetric capillary blood sampling device in the context of athlete biological passport, utilizing elite athletes at the 2023 Boston Marathon.
Benjamin Curley, evaluating the importance of diversity in playstyle versus skill level and generating strong ad hoc cooperative models within the overcooked AI environment.
Abigail Cushman, MEK inhibitor E6201 suppresses tumor growth in atypical teratoid rhabdoid tumors, revealing the potential for synergism between E6201 and an mTOR inhibitor.
Drew Annickstein, analyzing patterns of naive odor-detecting canines to optimize searching efficiency, a pilot study.
Lucas Cantor, evaluating the localization metrics of UNAV, a novel indoor navigational assistance application for individuals with visual impairments, a pilot study.
Gregory Schreier, analyzing the factors associated with decreases in seizures frequency among epileptic patients treated with responsive neurostimulation.
Lily Anshin, investigating the immunophenotypic differences among T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia patients of distinct subtype, sex, and race in efforts to improve chimeric antigen receptor T-cell therapy.
Jacob Fenster, demystifying parasitic persistence, BFD2 phosphorylation in the regulation of Toxoplasma gondii chronic differentiation.
Nicolette Desano, searching for sustainable style, factors influencing purchase intentions towards new versus used clothing for Gen Z and Gen X in an online setting.
Zachary Goldman, Will Work for Food, assessing how difference in breed and age can impact a dog's ability to express contra-freeloading.
Daniel Dotsai, investigating the potential of optically tunable metasurfaces for enhanced detection of fluorescent molecules.
Rachel Shapiro, assessing the effect of flavanol intake on hippocampal structure and cognitive functioning.
Benjamin Levy, using machine learning to uncover hidden linguistic differences within online mental health disclosures between men and women.
Grace Lynn, America the Beautiful, quantifying the recreation use value of U.S. natural lands.
Adin Kirsch, using acetylation and deacetylation inhibitors A485 and romidepsin to investigate transcriptional regulation during axolotl regeneration.
Kyriaki Gabriel, the ties that bind us, behavioral impacts of rope entanglements on mother-calf North Atlantic right whale pairs.
Lauren Lombardi, increasing attendance at art museums, an investigation of viewer engagement through an exploration of architectural factors and phone use as a distraction.
Jake Santos, an investigation of Martian chaos terrain formation in the Eridania Basin and Chrysi Planitia region.
Eliza Zelman, what microbiome is the effects of microorganisms and likely to erosion and gastrointestinal symptoms?
Romy Schweitzer, exploring the association among social isolation, loneliness, and hearing loss in adults aged 65 and older, a mixed method study.
Jonathan Mallett, the use of retinol, reproduces heart and women cultivation for cell-based meat production.
And feces nutrient deposition on the seagrass Zostera marina. One more time, let us all congratulate the outstanding authentic science research.
Before we close our evening, on behalf of the entire science research program, I'd like to thank our fantastic Fab Five of 2024. I want you to know that every little thing that you're seeing tonight, every little detail from the most amazing charcuterie board I've ever seen in the Science Research Symposium, to the details of our website, our program, our invitations, our posters, was all from them. You guys planned the most amazing evening, and watching you plan this for the last 3 months has been an honor and a joy. You worked collaboratively, you exhibited outstanding leadership skills, and always maintained your sense of humor. Most importantly, you continually display your love of our program and our community, and we are grateful to have you as part of our program. On behalf of the senior class, thank you for such a wonderful celebration. Again, thank you to Dr. Matthew, Ms. Salamone, Mr. Gulick, Mrs. Santini, for your dedication and commitment that you show the program every single day. It's a pleasure to work alongside all of you. And again, one more time, congratulations. Career saying goodbye to people, and I say to you guys all the time, it's never goodbye because you never know when we're going to see each other again. And one day I wouldn't be surprised to see every single one of you giving a speech to another symposium in years to come. Go do wonderful things in this world. Do things to make this a better place. Help each other, and please, please, please keep in touch. I'm going to be waiting for your emails.